Hello, it's Philippa, and welcome, and good morning, good evening, good night, wherever in the world you are. We are so happy to have you here, and we're wrapping up. So today we're going to be here for a bit, and then we're going to go and share the final celebration that the JS Build-a-Thon team at Microsoft is hosting. So we'll see kind of what's going on there as we wrap out. We have several submissions from around the globe for the Quest 9 projects, which are kind of cool because you can kind of make up anything. Our own Ariane has done an amazing project we got to see yesterday, and really excited about that. It looks fantastic. So we now can all kind of go in and vote for those projects, what we want. And we still have a bit of extra time. We're going to do one more of these study jams kind of a week from now, and we'll still be monitoring our communication channels so that if you are progressing and you're still getting stuck with things, I know myself, I had figured out how to progress to a challenge and get it to sort of meet the requirement, but I was still having errors on that challenge. So I kind of went back to try to figure things out and ended up spending a lot of time kind of troubleshooting things for myself. Now, this includes one of the things that I want to get better at and have some of our fellow Microsoft Learn student ambassadors come talk to us about is best practices for security in GitHub, because GitHub does not allow you to push code that has the APIs in it, but for some of the code, you need the API to run the code. So I am still learning out how to do that compliantly and efficiently, because otherwise I just end up on ChatGPT saying, how do I fix this? And spend hours and hours working on that task to fix that. So that's where I want to make sure that we are all doing what needs to be done to get sort of moving on things. And then the other thing that we want to talk about is just general, just security in general. So that's going to be, and that's other content you'll see on this channel. We just did a cybersecurity career day. And I've just got Ariane popping onto our call, so I'll get him on the stage in just a moment here. And yeah, so excited to just kind of hear about your project, your progress, where you're at. And I'm going to troubleshoot some things with him today. There you are. Hello. I'm going to pop you up.
Hello.
There you are. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Your video is lagging. Is
Oh,
there
is
any?
it?
Yes.
It might be my internet, or it might just be the fact that I have, well, I don't know, so many tabs open. I'm not sure. Hopefully that
Okay.
gets resolved. Is it still lagging a bit?
Yes, it is.
Maybe I can just try to, I don't know if just closing things will help. Uh, I can also just turn it over to you and just kind of go quiet for a minute. Your project's amazing, by the way. Like, so fantastic. Can you hear me on
Your
that?
your voice is also breaking in between.
Oh, that's not good. All right,
I guess
I'm
you
gonna leave.
can join again.
Hmm? Hold on.
Just leave and join again. I guess. Yeah.
Is that better? Or is it still happening?
Yeah. I guess internet problem is there.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I leave this. I think if the studio's live, if I leave, I'm not sure as the host if I leave if it ends the session. Anyways, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Can we have we're going to do a screen share for the actual presentation that we have at which that's
Probably I can show the project which I have made.
yeah, amazing. Please do.
Yeah. Okay. Just let me share my tab. Hello everyone, I am Aryan Jaiswal and I have basically made an AI career navigator for my final project for this Build-a-Thon as a part of the Quest 9. So before getting into this, you should be knowing I am an engineering student here in India. Currently I'm in my fourth year. So I keep applying in various type of internship, job opportunities and other things. But there was no such platform where I can basically get any personal thing regarding to my journey, like where should I apply, what school skills should I have based on my resume, and a mentor was not there with me. I kept applying, I kept cold mailing, and I have done many things, but at the end nothing was fruitful. So I thought, why not make a platform which can solve these problems? So here is a version one of my product, my software, which is called AI Career Navigator, your personal AI career coach. So I am a part of the Geo Cyber Study Jam among the leaders. And now, before heading up and telling you more things about the project, let's see how it works. So I have attached a demo video here. You can come and see it. I'll be playing for you right now. Since the browser didn't allow the music to be played from the very start, so is happening right now. So we have to unmute it first, then we can start it. And now I will be sharing my screen. You can see what we have made. So this is the about this platform section, how we have made things, the tech stack we have used, the technology implementation, and if you wanna get in touch with me, you can. And I have used the glass morphism effects here for better visibility and things, and fill is basically fixed for better accessibility from any of the pages. These are the four features I have made. And if you see the first one, career chat. So I have written SD for the role. And suppose I ask some question, I said hello, hi. So it is saying me to basically select all of the three options which I have made for this particular feature. So when you will be selecting all of it, then only it will be answering. Otherwise, it will be saying select all of that. Then on the basis of the keywords you have chosen in the different inputs, you will be getting outputs on that basis only for a very personalized guidance. So I have configured the GPT 4.1 in the backend. My service request is gone, and now I have got the response. I have tailored it according to this particular career chat. I have configured the prompt file, the input file, the system prompt file, and the chat file for all the things for giving a proper output which can be useful for you in a very short and sleek format. Here is a chat section also. If you wanna continue your chat or clear your chat, you can ask multiple questions on further analysis and all things. And in these three, you can basically have a resume analysis. You can upload your resume and your text of the resume for a better insight, or you can just upload your text or your resume. I've used a PDF to text tool here to basically encrypt and get all the text from my resume file. Now it is sent to the backend where GPT 4.1 is working. I have used an API. So here are the analysis result, the overall ATS score, the other things which I was is here. And here you can see what are the things. I have made a card and put all the contents in there with a scroll bar function. Now we have an interview preparation feature, and similarly you can also see to select all of them. So it is mentioning the same. So let's see what happens. So we have selected three options. Based on that, it will be guiding you like how you can grow and how you can get to that particular role. So you can see the technical questions, behavioral questions, answers of them, and you are getting many other things. And the last one is skill analysis. Suppose you want to apply for a particular role in a company, and there you know your skills are these, but you are applying for these. So based on that, it will give you a suggestion like what more skills to read, what more skills to learn, or how well you are prepared for your job and the interview thing. So it's a one-stop solution for all of your needs in applying for various type of jobs. So see, like skill gap analysis, skills you have to mainly focus here. So I have highlighted this part as you can see. So you have to focus on these technologies more. Then you can also have these things, and here is a structured plan on how you can go on forward. These were all the features. Now we'll just click to home button, get to the main page. Where I have used an effect of floating rocket to make it look even more seamless. So in the front end, I have used HTML, CSS, JS, and TypeScript with Tailwind CSS, and in the back end, I have mostly implemented Flask to basically used Python in that, and because of that, all you are seeing it. I have hosted it on a local system. I'm not able to deploy it on Azure right now. Some errors I'm facing from the past 3 days. So when it will be deployed, I'll be sharing you the link. Then you can try all these things on your itself. You can see the participants name here. I am the participants, and whoever is contributed to this particular post in comments or some other things, you can see here. Then the problem, the application black hole, basically you apply for a very high number of applications for various job roles. For a single opening, many people apply. So that sometimes makes you didn't qualified for that particular position. So you should have a X factor in your resume or cover letter, whatever you are making, to make your resume or cover letter stand out. You can have skill gap confusion, like you are thinking I know all of it regarding that particular job, but you can be lagging in some kind of tech stack. So by this functionality, I have tried to remove this interview anxiety. You haven't prepared for the interview and questions, so you can prepare for this from here. And like now, what is my solution? I have currently prepared the V1 since the deadline was near. I can't implement all the features. I have thought to basically implement 3 phases in this. Now, what we have to do it, I have shown you all the features: the career chat, resume analysis, interview questions, and the fourth one also, where you can basically identify your skill gaps. So here is the GitHub repo, and if you like my project, if you think this can make a good solution for a problem, you can just come on and upvote it for getting me into the spotlight winning area. And now you should be thinking like, we already have ChatGPT and all. Why should we use your AI thing? So for that, I wanna answer like, I have configured this for your particular needs. These thing needs for your AI career journey needs, for your job needs and other things, and it will answer always in that domain only. It will not hallucinate of various other chats which you have in your chat gpt, or answer something else which is not properly used in your career or whatever questions you have asked. So I have segregated all the required features from gpt to this platform, by which you can get better insights and eventually get a job in an mnc or a startup wherever you are. So this was all. I will be providing you the link. This is the GitHub issue number 47 in the main repo. You can just come on the issue and just come here, AI Career Navigator, and you can vote for me if you liked it. I'll be very much thankful for the thing. So this is it.
All right. My internet is just not cooperating today. Am I still lagging?
Yes.
Still lagging. Oh, not good. Okay. Well, we have a few minutes that we need to fill. So my question is, because we'll be starting in about 14 minutes, they'll go live, and we can sort of share that countdown with the final closing ceremony. We again want to just keep motivating everybody. I want to let's see what's nice. I do have. Again, I don't know if I'm audible or not, but
Or
my question.
audible but being stuck in between at some particular places.
That's not good. My main question is: all of my links within all of my quests are broken. So anytime there's a link, it goes to a 404. Yeah, I'm gonna put my question
What
in.
type of links? Like the chat app you implemented or any other things? What do you
In the
mean by that?
instruction, anytime it says here's a resource, here's a link, even or here's a PDF, or here's a PNG, or here's more information, every single one of those links is broken. Every
So
single one.
when you are trying to basically go to a particular resource which is given in the readme file of the quest, it is giving you an error, right?
Yeah,
So that's a problem from the handlers team, I guess, that can't be fixed from our side.
yeah, because I'm spending way too much time doing workarounds because I can access none of the resources.
Yeah, but mostly the links which generally redirects you that are not used. Just one of them was used. How much I remember, the RAG one. A particular document is given to you. You have to use it for the RAG implementation. Other
Yeah, I
than
just
that,
added.
you just have the GitHub VS Code extensions link. You can get them directly. Also, just search in the VS Code extensions. And
Okay, I know, like for example, and that's like so one of the issues that I was having yesterday is specifically in the RAG one. I couldn't download that couldn't access that document. It came as 404. So I said, okay, fine, I'll just add my own document. That was fine. But
uh,
then,
I guess there can be a thing like we have the deadline for each of the quest according to that particular poster. So maybe after a new quest came, the previous quest resources were broken or removed after some time. Since you are saying readme is there, but the resources are not there.
that seems so odd because I know they're motivated for people to move forward, to break after you're
Yeah,
done with it.
like we didn't got any info for postponement also. Like if the event is to be postponed, we should know about it 1 or 2 days back, not 1 hour ago or some hour ago. And today is the final kickoff session also, so I don't know what will happen in future and what will happen with this repo and all. So let's
Yeah,
see
no,
what.
my understanding is it stays and it exists and it's not going to go away. And I think they want people who started to finish. They may not get the rewards or the celebration, as we would love you to get with your amazing project. And so everybody vote, check out the project for AI Career Coach and vote. Amazing. I'm so excited to see this uh, get the recognition it deserves. But I was just gonna say, I don't think it's meant like these GitHubs are meant to break in their wake. So I have to figure. I will bring that up to their
Yeah,
attention.
I guess where the files were uploaded, it is somehow deleted by mistake. It may be a thing, or the file has been renamed, or the README has been renamed. We have to see.
But then I have a test that's happening, and in the test, and it automatically keeps wanting to run the test, so it won't point to my PDF. It keeps running a test sample 5, and so I've had to sort of find out where is that coming from, why is it running that, why will it not find my file. I probably spent about 2 hours with that last night. Still can't find my file
On which quest you are right now?
on the RAG, the one with the PDF.
Okay.
But again, I think that this is the
Like
hopefully
you were
it's
not
not
able
about.
to access that particular PDF, then have you used any of your resources for that?
Yeah, it said it was fine to use your own PDF, so I used my own
Yeah,
PDF. But
so
right,
you have to rename many things in that particular code file according to the resource you have used. Have you done that?
um, I think that there was maybe you know what, maybe there's it kept going to a sample. It kept going to sample 5, as like part of its test code, and I didn't know what to do with that. And I was asking ChatGPT, and ChatGPT didn't know what to do with that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm realizing that because it just told me to comment out that section because it was in the index. And now I'm realizing maybe I shouldn't have commented out. Maybe I should just change it to my file. But I did ask it that, and it said, no, don't do that. So yeah, we're got it going in circles. But I've spent now hours trying to figure that one out. And yeah, so those are my two main things. That the other one that we talked about doing a session or a few sessions on security. I had the hardest time with pushing. So in the first one, it told me go get your PAT. So go get your API code, and then I put it in, and then I pushed it, but then it bounced it because it says you can't store this with the API code. So I went and tried to remove it, but then it was saying it was
See,
still in the system.
what you have to do it for the API code and the endpoint or the deployment name or the deployment model, you have to configure it in .env file, or just give a command like export OpenAI model, and then that particular model name, then the endpoint and all things in the chat itself. Then after that, run that particular code. This is the one way. Or the other way is you can create an .env file in your root directory of your VS Code folder, wherever your main application is in that folder, be it the root folder or the backend or frontend, wherever you are working. Just create that file, and in .env file, you have to mention all the API keys, endpoint, model name, deployment name, and all. When you will do that in the git ignore file, you have to create a git ignore file. You have to mention that .env. Then when you will be pushing to GitHub, then at that time the git ignore will be read, and it will see like whatever files are written inside of the git ignore, it will not be pushing all of them. So .env will not be pushed, and your code will be connected since it have the data in the backend, but it is not being committed to that particular GitHub repository. The other way around is you can go to the folder GitHub repo, or if you want to deploy in the Azure. So I had discovered it yesterday only. You can go in the settings, then configuration settings. Then there you can just click on add application setting, and you can add your API key and all whatever you have. Since it's your account, it will be secure. And in the GitHub, you can also do the same. Like for the configurations thing, you can get to the settings and add your private variables there. And then it will somehow talk to the actions and make a GitHub workflow to get your website up.
Yeah, so I have a feeling for people who are baby coders like me are probably not the only ones, maybe perhaps struggling with that a bit, just because it's a new concept that is, and it makes perfect sense because you obviously want to protect that information, and you don't want anybody using your account, especially when there's paid services or a finite amount of uh, data that you can push through on a free account. So it makes sense that you would want to keep those private. Thank you for that explanation. I think now I'm understanding. I don't think I understood before what the .env did, and I knew about git ignore, but I didn't understand. So I just need to configure code or configure, just make sure it understands that it's pointing to the env
Yes,
file.
like instead of passing the key, API key or endpoint directly, we'll be defining it in a variable name, like I told you, OpenAI model name, and that
Mhm.
particular variable name will be used in other files to basically call that variable name and fetch out the key. Like we will not go to the direct path, we will go indirectly, but come to this path. This is the way.
That makes sense. Okay. So, yeah, so I think there's little things that I can see might be stopping people, and that's okay. Like I said, with your expertise and our care, we want to make sure everybody is not uh falling, getting too stuck with these things. Sometimes I don't mind it if I'm just kind of feeling like I'm making progress, but then every once in a while I just feel like I'm making no progress and then I'm wasting time. And so yesterday I finally figured out, like, it gave me instructions to tell GitHub it was okay to get it through because I'd already deleted it, and then but I hadn't really saved it anywhere. But it was eventually able to push, and I was able to get to the next one, which is the RAG one. And then that one, I was just having trouble getting it to. There was a block of code in the index that I had that was pushing some test code, instead of my PDF file. So that was what I was up against there. And then I just want to go ahead and go to Microsoft React and find a reactor and see how we're doing in our countdown to our
Yeah, it's the YouTube live.
upcoming. Yeah, because we'll get going. So, okay, got it. Closing ceremony call upcoming. Here we are. Notify me. Okay. All right. They have. Okay, so I see I've got that queued up. So as soon as they're ready to go live, we will share it. And no, thank you. And like I said, I'm not. We're here to make sure everybody else gets going forward. Oh, another issue that I did have is it didn't like my student subscription for something, and I had to kind of upgrade my subscription to a free version of it. And then once I did that, it was fine. But it just did not like my student subscription. Did you have any
You
issues
should
with that?
use your Microsoft subscription, which you are getting from MLSA site, being a gold ambassador. Activate that, delete all of the other resources and subscription group you have created, and create all of your groups and the products in the new subscription which you have. You'll be getting $150, so make use of it and leave the free tier or the student tier.
Okay, question for you there is the one you sent me was for DevOps. So it gave me a free DevOps account, but not
You
an
know,
Azure account.
the one I have sent you, it had many of like one card here, one card here, one for VS Code, one for from kind of Xbox or whatever. Various offers were there. You have to select that as your option and then click on the activate option.
Oh, I don't know why. I felt it. I thought it took me straight to DevOps. So I'll check it again because for some
Yeah,
reason that was the one that sort of popped up. So which is good. I mean, I think that will be a good tool for me to use as well. But let me go and look at that. So yeah, I think the reason I was getting other errors had to do with the account that I had.
you
So
have to
so
reset it
yeah.
and do the quest 3 again on your new subscription, then probably use it for further. I faced a similar type of issue, so I also have did the same.
Yeah, I have the two accounts running. I don't have I need to figure out, like you said, combine them or something. But once I told it to go to the second account, I had no problems. Just did not like the first account.
Yeah, sure.
So so yeah, I'm getting through it. I basically today I have a kind of a day off because I worked on Saturday. Yesterday I didn't get as much done as I wanted to because it was just like I needed part of a weekend, and then today is kind of a working weekend, I'll call it, because I have a bunch of time dedicated to moving forward on a task and just rallying our people, seeing where everybody's at and how we can be helpful to who's done. I do know you're not the only one who's done. We have some projects that I at least another project that I've seen come through. So definitely
Yes.
want to celebrate those who have also completed, and I'm going to do my best I know the project I want to do. I have a really good idea of that. So if I'm on 5 right now, 6, 7, 8, so I still have 3 more to do. It might take me all day to get those done. And then I want to
Share
start on my
that
project.
YouTube live stream link.
Hmm?
So share the YouTube live stream link.
Yeah. So they actually have 2.
They have
They
to.
literally have 2 in the this is the first one. I think what they did is they created a backup because I think last time they had some issues. So just put it in the chat for you. And then I'm going to do a screen share as soon as.
The video is running. I can see.
Oh, it is? Okay. I'll go ahead and share it. They have two videos. Are you seeing the reactor one? Or are you seeing?
Microsoft Reactor.
Yeah, okay.
I started was on this one page. This is the GitHub repository where everything begins. I say this because the Build-a-Thon, as you saw, is designed to track your progress as you continue. So that means you have to have this one entry point, which is the repository that we're working with. If you scan the QR code on the screen, or if you visit the link that I believe will be shared on the chat, you will be able to find this repository. Please note, it will be really helpful if you bookmark this page, because we're going to be sharing a lot more in the future in terms of different things you can do with AI and JavaScript. So this is definitely a resource that you want to have handy. And then you'll see that I'm canceling out the started part, because this is where your journey can start at any given time. As I said, it's built to be completely self-paced, so you can come in at any time and decide that you want to start a learning journey at that specific moment. So if probably Daniel or Bethany could drop the link on the chat, that will be really helpful for everyone to follow along. Okay, so the grand finale of the Build-a-Thon was this last quest 9, which was different than others, because quest 9 called for you to actually pause for a moment. Now, after learning all these different concepts, quest 9 actually called for you to sit for a moment, have a moment of reflection, and think of an active problem. It could be a problem that is personal to you, is societal, educational, just a problem that you are passionate enough to actually implement a solution for. And then once you've identified a problem that you can tackle, instead of starting from scratch, this is again something that we tried to eliminate, because putting together a full AI or agentic system has a lot of moving pieces. I mean, for you to even implement something like RAG, behind the scenes, you would need 3, 4, 5 services all configured to talk to each other. So all that would be a lot of work. It would take a lot of time. So to ease that experience for you, we recommend that you visit one of our 2 template galleries that will allow you to browse through different templates. And these galleries just have end-to-end samples that implement a certain architectural diagram. So let me show this in action. I'm just going to switch over to my browser. And instead we have 2 template galleries that you can choose templates from. So the first one is the awesome AZD template gallery, which, as you can see, has a list of different templates that you can use. The awesome AZD template gallery has a mix of both AI and non-AI templates. So you can take some time. You can filter by language. Of course, for this Build-a-Thon, our focus on JavaScript, TypeScript. So you're going to filter down by language. You can filter down by framework, services, databases. So you can explore the different samples that we have. And then once you find a template that kind of contains the key services that you want to implement. So for example, let's say you want to, this is not AI related, our focus is really AI. Let's say you want to implement a ChatGPT application style. You can basically go for this template. It's really, really advanced. It has implementation of RAG. It's using LangChain, so it's a really good get started template. And then you have the instructions on what you need to do in order to put on the code, deploy it in one command, and then just work with the code, customize it to fit your use case. So that's basically what most of you did. And you're able to identify a template that you use for your solution. And then the other template gallery we have is the Build with AI template gallery. Now, the difference between the two is that this one has only AI templates, so you won't find any project here that does not have an AI angle. And the two, the second library has very specific hand-picked templates by Microsoft that you can choose from. Okay, but for the AZD template gallery, this, as you can see, has a mix of Microsoft authored and community authored templates. So you can basically just find for a variety of options a template that works best for you. And then you customize the template, make it fit your vision. And then for this specific Build-a-Thon, we also had these 2 additional steps where you submit project once you're done building the solution, and then you rally up your score and get some votes to win the people's choice site. So I know most of you did but in case you need to complete this step, one of the announcements we'll share today is that we have extended the deadline. So initially the deadline was today 30th, but we'll give it up to Friday this week. So if you're working on a solution, ensure that you submit it latest Friday this week for you to be eligible for the participant batch. All right, so that's basically it. Once we're done, we have some templates that you can use here to just share your projects on socials. You can choose to share your photo, project summary, and a link to your GitHub account, as well as just the issue number, so that people can identify your project and vote for it. If you're not comfortable adding your photo, you can add a screenshot of your solution, and we'll be able to work from there. All right, so up to now, I believe we have 10 projects that have already been submitted. So again, big shout out to everyone who was able to get this in time. And I will hand it over to Bethany, who is going to talk and walk us through some of the awesome submissions that you've seen coming in. Some of the solutions are really, really personal. I mean, you've been watching the news. We've had like a lot of very difficult political disruptions happening, and so you can see that people are having problems that are close to them, close to their societies, and working with technology to provide solutions for this. So I hand it over to Bethany, who's going to just walk us through some of these submissions.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. So I'll share my screen. Let me wait for a minute. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So there's a couple of projects, but I'll highlight a couple of them as well. One of the projects that I want to build, but how we build it. So this project is a VMware Tools protocol. It tries to extend with MDP. And what I liked about this project is it was completed directly through GitHub Copilot Web Editor. Like, the only thing they had to do was to go to GitHub Copilot and ask about how can I automate the entire process, how can I go in there and build an application. And then we have a couple of interesting projects. So all of them are chat interfaces for different use cases. The first one is this project by Toshi that talks about how you have your own mental health friend. So I tested it out. I hope you can be able to see my screen, but let me zoom in a bit. So this is my friendly AI companion, and the idea of this is to be able to support you and provide a safe space so you can chat about how you're feeling, and the idea is just that to listen. So I asked about, okay, how I know if if I have depression or something of that sort. That's the most common thing people go to Google about, right? So you'll be like, okay, how do I know if I have this disease? What are the symptoms? And you can see it gives us a really good response. So it talks about recognizing changes in your mood or your well-being, and it also talks about some of the common signs, which probably are feeling sad almost every day. So it's telling you it's either most of the day, nearly every day, for at least 2 weeks. So if you have lots of interest or pleasure in things. And then the good thing about this is it has a tag down here where it tells you the resources I'm drawing from, which is, I don't know if this is the, yeah, yes, this is a good resource. It's pointed halfway, so I'm not sure why, but I'm guessing it's because of how they fed it. It was a chant probably, and then it tells you what is depression, and then it tells you what is bad about it, depression on one, how it works, and everything, which is a good thing, right? That's the first project that I saw. Another one is around safety when you're dealing with mining. So this solution is called Mine by Josephat, and he's talking about how do you ensure you're able to access real-time safety guidance and monitoring when you're mining, especially in underground mining. So the question I asked here was, okay, how can I be safe when mining in an underground tunnel? Let me say cave, because in Kenya we have a lot of caves based on our history. So I just ask, okay, what should I check? or in a cave and it's telling me inspect for loose rocks, ensure this ground is stable, check if there's any signs of movement before entry. And it's also telling me about if there's any recent seismic activity, do not enter, and so on and so forth, right? And then there's another solution I saw around climate action. So this solution is built by Daniel, and it's about how to make the environmental impact personal and actionable. So how do you ensure when you're dealing with the environment and climate change, how do you ensure you make that impact? And with this, it has a bit of questions. So this is what I liked about it. So it has a couple of forms. And one of the things I tried was how can I get involved in local climate action? So like, if I want to do all this, how do I get involved in it? And then, so of course, with AI, I give it some time to give you a response. And then to give you, okay, if you're trying to help in a local climate action, this is what you do. So you assess your interest, research basically where you are, research and try and figure out how can I help in the area that I'm in. And then it has a couple of resources down here that you can be able to go in and click and be able to check and see, okay, is this something I can be able to get access to? And then the other one, before two more. That one is about the Sri Lanka assistant. Again, this is about checking on the legal assistant for any problems you may have specific to Sri Lanka. It was built by, I'm not sure, Ramiru. Let me see Ramiru. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. And then the project was about probably the different things happening in the country and how you can be able to use AI to understand what's happening. So for example, I don't know if there's any tax changes in your country, but there's one in ours as well. The question I'm asking is, when do the 2025 tax changes take effect? And the idea is it will be able to respond with, okay, this is when they take change, and this is how you can be able to navigate. Okay, as it closes, let me go to the last project, which is around Jua Katiba. It's a Swahili combination of two words, which means know your constitution, basically. And this was built by Steven. And the solution is basically how you can be able to use and understand the Constitution of Kenya, right? It was built by the group in Kirinyaga, the Tech to Give group. They have a study jam, so that's why I know that's how they built it. And the question I had for them was, okay, what does the Constitution say about being a Kenyan citizen? And it gave me a response and some reference. And then the good thing I liked about this solution was you can go on and ask, like it suggests prompts based on the question you ask. So you can go ahead and ask, okay, so if I'm a citizen, how can my citizenship get revoked? It's told me I don't know. So I'm not sure if that's the correct answer, because I also don't know if you can get revocation for citizenship. I guess it's treason or something. And then let's go back to the last application that we saw. Yeah. It's telling us the tax changes in Sri Lanka start from April 1, 2025. And you can be able to see it's giving us the citation as well, giving us all the information we need. So those are some of the projects that were built. Most of them are very UI-based. Yeah, this is the Parliament of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, and it shows us the tax amendment and when it was done, which is very, very interesting. Like you can get access to the PDF and everything. So those are some of the projects that were submitted. You can find all the projects here under the GitHub issues in GitHub. If you liked any of the projects, or if you want to support the projects, you can just go ahead and give them a thumbs up. The reaction is down here, so you can go ahead and react and give them a thumbs up. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to vote. I think I'll just vote for all of them. But yeah, that's it about the submissions that we've had. And thank you so much for all the wonderful projects. Back to you, Julia.
Awesome, amazing. I think it's really nice to see what you all were able to do. I mean, in a matter of just a few weeks, especially for those who are just getting started. So really good job to everyone who was able to get their projects in. And as I said, we extended the deadline. So if you are yet to submit your project, ensure you do so by end of week. so that you're eligible to get the participant badge. Now, as Bethany was doing the presentation, we got a few comments and questions on the chat. So we have one from Paulina, and her question is, are there any templates that don't require me to deploy to Azure? I have insufficient quota. So when working with these deployed models, I think that's the biggest challenge that we've seen people facing, the quota issues and limitations. And so my recommendation to you for that is, once you identify a template you want to use, right? So you're basing that on the problem you've identified, and based on the structure of the template, you feel like this has most of what you need to implement already implemented. So go on and pull that template. You will get the code. And then what you do is you swap out what would otherwise talk to Air Foundry, and then just pass in your GitHub models credentials. This will allow you to work with the same templates, experiment, and work with the models that are hosted on GitHub models as opposed to those on Air Foundry, because if you're going to just deploy the models, they will likely need you to have some available quota. And if you're out of quota, my recommendation is just pull the template, since it will have most of the code ready for you. The other services and resources that you need all deployed for you. But then when it comes to the configuration for the model to use, swap that out with what you covered in quest 1, which was around GitHub models. You can get your developer key and you're able to do the local experimentation. So that is my recommendation if you want to find a workaround for that specific challenge. So if we can switch back to the slides, we're now going to quickly talk about what you're able to cover. And behind all this, I mean, I don't think there's anyone who was able to do all this on their own. We had a very strong and vibrant community on Discord. So if you're yet to join the Discord space, I strongly recommend you join us there. If you have any questions, if you're hitting any challenges, you'll get someone who can easily help unblock you. Okay, so let's quickly get into some of the concepts that you covered, and then I'm also going to combine this with what will be coming next. Let me just check through the chat, see if we have any questions. Bernard saying, before the Build-a-Thon, I didn't know you can have an AI agent built with JavaScript and TypeScript. Yes, that is very much possible. I'm glad that you discovered that in the Build-a-Thon. All right, someone is asking, if we submitted around 4 hours ago, will that be considered as a submission? Yes, every project that is submitted all the way till Friday this week will be considered, so no need to worry there. All right, so let's move on. As we've been talking about GitHub models, I think this is like the most interesting thing for me. I say this because for a very long time, I just used to hear people talk about language models, what they're doing, how powerful they are, some of the limitations they have. And the only way I could interact with it was ideally through ChatGPT. That's when I could try different prompts, just see it work. But then I realized, especially if you're in the tech space, you want to interact with these models more to understand how they work, what limitations to have, what safety guardrails to put in place, especially if you're going to be building AI experiences for real-world customers. So data models, for me, I feel like is that one step that removes all the barriers of entry, because all you need for you to access all these models is basically a GitHub account. So this is one of the most interesting concepts that you guys went through. And as you can see on GitHub models, you're able to have access to several models. You have a very rich and diverse catalog to choose from. So models from different providers, OpenAI, Mistral, Google, Microsoft Research. So you're able to experiment with a variety of models. What I also love is that you can come in and play around with the parameters, change the different settings. You can adjust the reasoning effort if you're working with reasoning models. So for me, I think this is a really good starting point for you to get real hands-on with how these models work and what you need to do to ensure you're getting your desired output. Then the two key features that I love about GitHub models, which you had a chance to play around with, was one, the compare feature, where you're able to have this side-by-side comparison. So you can send in a single prompt, and then if you have the compare feature open, you'll basically be sending that to two different models that you want to have that side-by-side comparison of how they perform. So this will help you as you make your decisions in terms of what models to settle for when you're taking these to your applications. And then 2, we have this new feature that you can also use to actively monitor the consumption of tokens. Remember, at the end of the day, when you're working with models, the currency that you're talking about is tokens. You're charged based on the tokens consumed. So on GitHub models, you're also able to just compare how different models consume tokens, as well as the latency. How long does a specific model take to respond to an ask? So this is definitely something that was a key highlight for me. And the better part of it is that for you to move from playground to actual code, this is as easy as just clicking, use the model, and then you get some sample code that is already configured to work with the model that you're playing around with. So if on GitHub models, you're experimenting with OpenAI GPT 4.0, for example, once you click on this use this model button, it basically gives you sample code that is ready and that is ready for you to implement and use that specific model. So this is really, really good, especially if you're just starting off. You have a variety of options in terms of the language to use, the SDKs to use. So for the Build-a-Thon, we were focusing on JavaScript. And then, if let's say your boss is asking you to implement a quick prototype for an AI feature probably, or a quick proof of concept, before you even ask for like any budget, you can easily just put together a quick prototype using GitHub models. So that's like one of the key use cases. And then once you're ready to test this in a production ready environment, you come back on GitHub models and you're able to get a production key. This will immediately provision everything for you on AI Foundry. And I'm sure that all of you saw how seamless that process was. But the question now comes, what if I want to work in a local environment? Or what if I'm designing an application where the actual users have limitations in terms of their access to the internet? So what we didn't have in the current version of the Build-a-Thon that we will implement in the next one is something that is fairly new, something that was announced last month at Microsoft Build, which is Foundry Local. Foundry Local is a tool that allows you to safely design, customize, and manage AI models and applications on your own device, right? So right now we're talking about you downloading models, literally, and running them on your own computer. So that means at no point will you be sending any data outside your machine, right? And so that is privacy and security out of the box. If you're working with GitHub models, there is that requirement that you have to be connected to the internet. In as much as we have this generous free offering, you still need to have access to the internet every time you're running your application. But if you're trying to build, let's say, solutions for people who have the limited access to the internet, then probably that might be an issue. Now, a really good tool that you can consider is Foundry Local. Consider is Foundry Local, which you will get to play around with in the next version of the Build-a-Thon. Again, we've talked about the privacy and security advantage that comes with Foundry Local. Since everything is running on your own device, the model is running on your device, then you can expect low latency. You're basically not waiting for your request to be sent somewhere and that server to come back to you with a response. Everything is running on device, so you're going to experience very low latency. And then, of course, you're not paying any provider for any compute resources. In this case, you're hosting everything on your own, so it's definitely cost efficient since you're looking at zero cost for you to actually work with Gen AI. So that's really, really exciting. One of the things that I can't wait for you guys to actually start experimenting with. And just to give you a sneak peek of what you expect to find once we launch this version 2 of the Build-a-Thon is, and by the way, if you want to install Foundry Local, if you're on Windows, this is the command to do so. If you're on macOS, these are the equivalent commands. So what you expect to find is once you have Foundry Local installed, number one, you can run the command Foundry model list. What this will do is that it's going to just print out a list of all the models that you can run on your machine. So you can see we have this list of different models. So we have the name of the model, that's the model alias column. We have the device. So you can see we have GPU, CPU, NPU, and the key advantage of Foundry Local here is that Once you select the model that you want to work with, Foundry Local is going to automatically download the model variant that is best suited for your system hardware and software configuration. So that means if, let's say, you're running on a GPU machine, it will automatically pick the model variant that best suits your machine to give you the best performance. That's something that is really, really, really cool about Foundry Local. You don't have to worry about making any configurations. It will basically just tell this from your device. And then we have the file size. So as you can see, we have really, really small sized models that can comfortably run on your computer. So basically this will be like the entry point. We started this month's Build-a-Thon on GitHub models, but the next iteration will allow you to work in a completely offline environment, which for me, I think is a really, really cool addition to our resources. So once you've seen the list of the models, and the next command you run is Foundry model run, and then pass in the name of the model you want to work with. So in this case, I went with 3.5 mini. If it is not downloaded on your machine, it's going to download it fast, and then it will render this interactive mode on the CLI, and you're able to send in prompts and get responses with just simply running locally right here on your CLI. As I said before, we have different modes of interacting with Foundry Local. You're not just limited to the CLI. So of course, the other option that you have, we have the API, we have the CLI, and we also have the SDK. And of course, for sure, we have the JavaScript SDK that you can install using the command that you see on the screen. Once you do that, now you see something that is more similar to what you have been working with throughout the Build-a-Thon, which as you can see, you're able to now implement real applications that are running and are powered by models that are just running locally on a computer. So that's something that is really, really cool. And please stay tuned. We'll have more and more resources on this. And yeah, I think I just wanted to show you a sneak peek of what you expect to see in the coming programs. Again, I'm just going to take some time to switch over to the chat, see if we have any questions that have come up. Right, so I just see a lot of conversations around excitement around building agents. I will also talk a bit more about what's going to be possible moving forward. Yeah, so this is really good. All right, okay, so let's continue. The next thing we're going to talk about briefly is the concept of RAG. If you played around with GitHub models, you must have realized that it's actually possible to have some bit of RAG right there on the marketplace as you're interacting with GitHub models. So we have this grounding data section. So if you are keen enough, you'll realize that you can come in here, add in some piece of data. So I just added the Controso Electronics employee handbook that we provided as sample data. And once you add your PDF, it's going to be vectorized and an index is going to be created for you. And right now you'll see that right there on GitHub models, you're able to ask questions and the model is going to ground the responses based on your provided data. Now for the quest, the RAG quest that you implemented, we're just going to briefly just walk through the concept of RAG and then see what will come next in the subsequent version of the Build-a-Thon. So when you're talking about RAG, just a quick overview, and I think if you've showed up in most of our sessions, this might look like a repetition of what we've covered before, but let me just quickly walk through it for the sake of those who've just joined us. But when you're talking about RAG, RAG is in real sense just a combination of two components. We have a retriever and we have a generator. And what happens or how RAG works is that once you land on an application, you basically ask a question, you send in a prompt. The retriever is going to perform a quick search. So based on your prompt, it's going to do a quick search into your knowledge base. And then as a result, it's going to send back some relevant documents. From this search, it's not going to send back the actual answer, but it's going to send back like a chunk of information where your answer is likely contained. And then what happens next is that the retriever will pass both your question and these relevant documents to the generator, which is the language model, and the generator basically formulates the answer that is sent back to you. So this is a typical RAG pipeline that you see in production. But this is not what you guys did in this month's Build-a-Thon. because what you did was a really lightweight file-based retrieval method that is basically a very manual way of achieving what I just described. Okay, so we were using the PDF parse library. Then as you can see here, we are manually chunking the data, and then we just define a simple but very manual scoring mechanism, just to like look at the terms that you're passing in and then do a keyword search based on this data that we are extracting from the PDF. This does not really follow the industry practice of implementing RAG. This is not scalable, but we use this just for the demonstration purposes. Okay, so what will come next is we're going to just look at how you're going to get into that industry practice of implementing RAG, which, as you will see in the next few minutes, involves you building a knowledge base. You are working with a PDF file, and you've seen the piece of code that would handle that file, but in real sense, you'll be designing systems that will work with tons and tons of data. So what you do as the first step is that you have to create your knowledge base. What this entails is that you come in with your data, could be text, could be CSV, whichever format, and then this is passed through an embedding model, and the embedding model will basically just convert it into its vector representation. This text as it is in human readable format, but it has to go through a special model that will just convert it into a machine readable format. That is basically what is happening here. And then both the text and its vector representation will be stored in a vector database. Again, a concept that you didn't get to explore in this Build-a-Thon, but in the next one is something that will be factored in. So basically, this is the process you repeat for every single document that you want to include in your knowledge base. So as you can see, you cannot afford to work with that manual implementation that we did for like a large-scale application. Now, once you have built your knowledge base, now the RAG pipeline consists of 3 key processes. Number one is that when a user now comes into your application, they send in a user query. You first have to embed or vectorize their query. So you're going to use the same embedding model that you used, and then convert the user's question or prompt into its vector representation. And then what you do from there is, based on their prompt or their query, you're now going to perform a search. So in the vector database that you created, you're going to perform a search. And as I said earlier, you're going to retrieve some bit of information that is likely going to contain the answer to their question. And then that is what you pass along with the initial question to the model. And then the model is basically just going to formulate an answer from that. So basically what happens is you're going to tell the model, hey, answer this question based on this information that I'm giving you. And that is how RAG basically works. And I know at this point, after breaking it down that way, it may look complicated. And I promise you, it is, but it is also not as complicated. Why am I saying this? As part of the Build-a-Thon, you guys learned about LangChain.js, which is one of the frameworks that really abstracts away all of these complex workflows and just allows you to easily define this entire implementation in very few lines of code, all right? But I know you may not believe me after that point, so I'm just going to share an example, a quick sneak peek into what you're going to be looking at next. And as you can see here, this is one of the resources that we shared, one of the samples that we actually have. I don't know if it's available on the template galleries that I shared, but as you can see, I have this application where I'm passing in a video URL and a question that will probably need someone to understand the video. So in this case, I'm passing in a video, and this URL is the launch call that we had June 9th. And my question to it is, hey, summarize the program that is being announced in this video. The expectation is that the application I'm working with will actually interpret the video and give me an accurate summary of what was announced. And if you go through this response, you'll see that it's basically talking about the Build-a-Thon, and it's very, very accurate. So how do we go about implementing this? Because as you can see, this is a RAG pattern that has been implemented. So if you can break down the concepts that I was just explaining earlier, based on this screenshot, believe it or not, but the few lines of code that you see on the screen is all you need to implement what you're seeing on this screenshot. So we're working with, I think it's a certain YouTube library, I can't remember the name, but basically you see that we are extracting the transcript from that video. And then we're using a function from LangChain. We're going to load the transcript, store it in raw documents, and then we're going to use a splitter method to split or to chunk this information. So when you're building a knowledge base, it's not like one full document. You basically slice it up into smaller chunks, and so you don't have to like worry about implementing that entire complex workflow, because the framework that we're using in this case, LangChain.js, is actually taking care of all that behind the scenes, and it's just giving you like methods you can call to just easily abstract away all these steps. So you can see that we're easily just passing in the YouTube transcript. We're telling it, hey, I want you to split this into chunk sizes of 1500 characters, and then store these chunks in documents. That's basically all we need to do to build the knowledge base. And then when it comes to embedding this, we are working with a local model. So we're working with Olama in this case. We're working with the Nomic embed text model. It's a very small model that is basically just going to convert this text into its vector representation. We're working with FileStore, a local option for VectorDB. And then basically we have this add documents method that basically just stores both your data and its vector representation in your vector database. So all this complexity is hidden away, and you just have to write these very few lines of code. Then when it comes to the retriever and the generator components, the retriever is actually a single line of code, as you can see here. And for the generator, you can see how we are passing in the system prompt. We are now assembling everything in the RAG chain. And then we've enabled streaming here, so you can see how we are passing in the question, and you end up with the application that I was talking about. So again, I just shared that as a brief introduction for you to see the value of us working with like such frameworks that really make our work as easy as possible. So that's something that you will definitely explore more as we get into the next and future programs. Then what most of you are talking about on the chat is agents and the new cool kid in town, MCP, and the fact that you're able to actually go through a quest that really gave you a proper introduction to this. So in the quest, you are able to build a local agent fast. You use the AI Toolkit extension. You are able to build an MCP server. So this MCP server acted as a wrapper around the Node OS library or utility that allows you to interact with the operating system. And you are able to define 4 tools, a tool that will allow an agent to query information about your computer's architecture, the host name, your average CPU usage, as well as the computer's uptime. So you're able to wrap all this functionality in an MCP server, and then you are able to add this to an agent, and the agent is able to have these extended capabilities. So on this screenshot, you can see that I'm using GitHub Copilot. Agent mode is my agent. I passed in the MCP server that is running locally. And then you can see that GitHub Copilot is designed to answer programming-related questions. But in the event where you wanted to have access to external services, external tools, you can see how I pass in the tools. I give it the list of tools that I have available for it. And then I can pass in a question like, based on my current computer spec, and I won't even give it my computer specification, I'm asking it to recommend like my next computer upgrade, and I'm into gaming. So with such a prompt, you'll see that Copilot, GitHub Copilot, agent mode in its own understanding of the tools that it has is able to identify that it has 4 tools that can help it meet or answer the question that I asked it. So it runs the 4 tools, and then it comes back and says that, okay, here's your current device. And based on this is my recommendation in terms of what you can get as an upgrade. So this is a real practical implementation of how you can see how to extend your basic agent and give it, superpowers. People talk about MCP, the MCP concept as a way of giving agents superpowers to work beyond their limitations. So that's something you're able to implement. And then you went beyond that again. So you moved from local, and you were able to also deploy an agent on AI Foundry. You did this all from VS Code without leaving your environment, using the AI Foundry VS Code extension, which is still fairly new. And the fact that you guys were using it, if you had any questions or any feedback or encountered any bugs, the team is actively looking out for areas of improvement. So ensure that you log any bugs that you get so that this product can be improved. But basically, you are able to build remote agents. You're able to give the remote agent access to additional tools. So actually, this is where we hit the first limitation, since Beam grounding is a resource that is only available in specific subscriptions. So it's only available in the Azure free or pay-as-you-go subscription. So for those who are participating and they are on Azure for Students, they were not able to successfully complete this step. But for the upcoming Build-a-Thon, what we're going to do is that we're going to define an alternative path for anyone who is on a different type of subscription. So in this case, in addition to the tools, the built-in tools that you can add onto your agents, and now I'm talking about agents that are hosted on AI Foundry, have the built-in tools that you can use, like Beam grounding. But if you're not able to use these built-in tools, something that you can do is you can also define your own custom functions that will allow you to basically implement what we're talking about. You can connect to an external API, and you will be able to have the exact same outcome. So for this quest, the outcome was you basically added an agent mode to your application, and then now you're able to actually have the agent interact with the internet and do real-time queries. But to achieve a similar outcome, for those who are not able to get the Beam grounding resource, we're going to define an alternative path where you can come in and write your own custom functions. Then in this case, you'll see that you're going to use like the Open Web App API. This is free. So you define your two functions, define how this connects to the API, and then you're basically just going to provide these functions as tools to the agent. Okay, so when your agent runs, so if on your application you run the agent mode, you'll see that whenever a tool is required to satisfy a user's need, the agent will automatically and autonomously discover the tools that you've given it and just invoke the right tool for the job. So basically, this is something that you're going to factor in the next iteration, given that we saw a lot of people who are not able to access the Beam service. Then the last thing that I think I wanted to highlight was GenAI script, which I think for this, I'll just do less of talking and just more of showing you what was really a key aha moment for me. I hadn't really worked with GenAI script before the Build-a-Thon, so this was also new for me. So I'll ask Bethany to be on standby to approve a pull request that I'm going to start in a few minutes. But to show you, like the real value of GenAI script that I really saw was that, and as the name suggests or implies, GenAI script is all about using prompting as your new coding mechanism, right? So you're basically just implementing code, which is a series of prompts. And for me, that was really, really key. So I'm just going to start this code space. And what I want to show you is right now, if you go on the repository, we see we have 10 issues. So we have 10 projects that have been submitted. But on the repo, if you scroll down to the participating projects, we only have 6 projects that have been added, right? So we have a few that are yet to be updated. And as you can see, the structure that we're using is the name of the project, 1-sentence description, and then a link to the project. Now I can manually do this update, or since I've learned about GenAI script, I can easily automate this task. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to VS Code. And as you can see, I have the README that has just the 6 projects. So the task that I'm doing here is updating this table to match all the project submissions that we have. And I want to do this in the shortest time possible. So instead of manually doing this, I'm going to work with GenAI script. And as you can see here, this is a simple JavaScript file, but it's not looking like the typical code that you work with. So you'll see we start here by listing the issues in the repository, and then we store the submission issues. And then basically now this is where things start to be very interesting for me, is that I now start defining what I need to be done in natural language. So ideally you'd be writing code to do all this, but I'm coming in and I'm going to say something like, hey, so I'm going to append my prompt to the model that I'll be using here. And I'll be like, you are a project list management assistant. This is the task that I want you to do. I want you to process the submission issues. And for each valid submission that follows the template, I want you to, number one, generate an executive summary, because most of these project submissions have like a full paragraph description of what they are. But for the README, we just need a one-sentence description. I can manually do that or work with a model to help me with this task. And then, so I'm passing in the instructions in natural language. So when people started saying that English is the new programming language, I think this was my aha moment, seeing how I can do all this without like having to think about writing regular expressions, to like extract specific items. This was really a key moment for me. So basically, I'm just going to run this script. And instead of using the GenAI script tool, I'm actually going to work with GitHub Copilot. And I'm going to invoke the GenAI script participant. I'm going to say that I want to run my GenAI script, which is called projects. That's the name of the file. And as soon as I hit enter, I expect this to be executed. I already passed in the configuration to GitHub models. So I'm using a model to basically just help me achieve this task without having to write the traditional JavaScript code that we're used to. So again, if you didn't learn anything new throughout the Build-a-Thon, I can almost guess that this is the first time you are learning about GenAI script. And as you can see, in a few minutes, working with GitHub Copilot as well as GenAI script, I get that my README has been actually generated. And I now have the projects that have all been submitted. So if you compare this with the issues, with the GitHub issues, you'll see that this is actually an up-to-date table that has all the projects. And if you can scroll, you'll see that it's actually grabbing the links as it should. So I'm basically just going to copy, let me copy the entire table. I'm going to come into my README, and I'm just going to replace that with this. Again, this is the only thing I'm doing, and you can see it's super manual. And then that's it. I was trying to find a way to automate this, but I ran out of time, but I'm sure it's definitely possible. And yeah, so once I'm done, I'm basically just going to commit this. I did new project. I am going to commit that. I'm also going to open a pull request. And I am going to assign Bethany to merge this for us. And so you can see this will really free up some time for me, and I'm able to focus on something else. And basically, this is one of the use cases. This is how I am using GenAI script. So I hope that you all found interesting ways to work with GenAI script for your use cases. So yeah, that's basically something that would have taken me some bit of time, but now I'm able to focus on something totally different. So we're almost out of time, and I wanted to share what will come next. Now you're done with the Build-a-Thon this month. So for those who have completed the Build-a-Thon, this is the next step for you. We have this form that I'll ask to be shared on the chat as well. So this form is what you will fill. This will give us details like your name, your email address for us to share the participation badge. And it will also ask you to give us some feedback in terms of how the experience was for you and some suggestions on what we can do better for the next programs that we will want to run with you. All right, so I think basically this wraps up today's session. Let me go back through the chat. Bethany, in case there's anything on the chat you want to highlight.
No, I guess the main thing is everyone is so excited about generic script and vibe coding and compiler. So those are the main highlights in the chat. Yeah. I've met you here, so it's good. But then I think when you copy to the table, you copy the entire table and then you rest everything and you missed a section. But I think that we can be able to fix later. But yeah, it looks good. The entire table is going to be like, yeah, pretty interesting.
So the small parts, the small role I had to actually introduce an error, but AI was flawless. Interesting.
Yeah.
So I see a question from Ezekiel. He says, I did not manage to get to the end. Is there a chance to complete it? I had a challenge. Yes, so Ezekiel, as I said, we've extended the deadline. So initially it was today, but you have until the rest of the week, so up until Friday. Ensure that you complete the project, you submit your project, and then you fill in this form. This form will just give us the details we need to send the badge to you. And in the process, you'll also be giving us some feedback and suggestions in terms of what to improve next. We're actually coming to the end of the fiscal year. So we are now actively planning for the next year, and we want to factor in your feedback in terms of programs and content that you want to see from us to help you in your upskilling journey. So definitely we want to learn from you in terms of what works and what does not work. If you want more of such build-a-thons, we will plan for these. If you want hackathons, if you want different engagement styles, workshops, that's definitely something that we can put into consideration based on your feedback. All right, so I see a lot of excitement as you pointed out. Yeah, so if you could maybe drop the survey link. We have someone asking for it. Then you have put this on the chat. Okay, fantastic. That's the link. Or you can also scan the QR code on the screen. This will direct you to a form. You can fill it out with your details. And remember to leave some feedback for us. Then as we wrap up, the last announcement to make here is that we are going to convert the repository we've been working with to be like a living repo that will just have all the up-to-date information and exercises around different areas of AI and agentic development with JavaScript and TypeScript. So that's why at the beginning, I strongly recommended that if you've not yet started the repository, that will really be helpful. So give it a star, give it some likes, follow, and then ensure you bookmark that as a resource that you can actively use to come back and just have some exercises around different AI concepts. We'll keep updating it. As you've seen, there's a lot more we'll add. And also based on your feedback in terms of what you want to see next, we're basically just going to evolve it to be a practical learning tool for JavaScript developers. So that's something that I wanted to mention. And then the last thing is to leave you with what I hope will be your AI dev pack for you JavaScript developers. And the two resources that I'm going to share. Number one is, in addition to the repository that we've been talking about, we have the Microsoft for JavaScript Developers Developer Hub. So this is a page that has a consolidation of what we are working on for JavaScript developers from Microsoft. So again, this will be shared on Discord, and this will also be shared on the chat. I think it's the summary. It's the summary link. So basically, you'll be able to find any new announcements, any new samples that we have, anything that is relevant to JavaScript, TypeScript developers. And then as you can see, we also have access to different curriculums and courses that we have. You'll have access or just information around AI frameworks and libraries you can use, as well as tools that are relevant for you as JavaScript developers. And the last resource I'll share is our new, well, not really new, but our generative AI for beginners with JavaScript course. Now, compared to what you've been going through throughout the month of June, this course is more, well, it's more theory because it talks about the concepts in depth. So it will introduce you to different concepts. We recently just added lessons on MCP, but if you scroll down, you'll see that we have different lessons around an introduction to Gen AI as a concept, prompt engineering, how you can structure outputs for your models, RAG, tool calling, MCP, etc. So again, this is a free open source curriculum that you can take. It's also not a typical curriculum because it's like a time, it follows like a time travel sort of fiction story. So you're able to actively learn in a new design. You're able to basically just implement different concepts using JavaScript. So again, this is a really good resource that you can use to just upskill in AI and agentic development. And so with that, I think we'll wrap up. I see some feedback coming in. Someone is saying hackathons would be great too. So next time we'll see how we can factor in and put that into consideration. But yes, I think this is something we can definitely try out in the future. And yeah, with that, happy to wrap up the session. Bethany, do you have any final words before we release everyone?
Yeah, nothing from my end. I just got joined by a very cute cat. So nothing else.
All right. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I think for me, this is really great. I mean, the feedback that you're all sharing. Please ensure that you join us on Discord. Ensure that you are going to join us on Discord. Let me go back to my slides. We can just switch to the slides for a minute. So if you go on the AI Discord channel, you'll see that there's actually more than what we have been doing. So we've only been using the JS AI Build-a-Thon channel. I hope we've all had a chance to explore different channels. We have the JavaScript SDK channel as well. And then we have different channels that focus on different angles. We have like community events that happen. We have AMA sessions. So if you want to join sessions with different product groups, they are talking about the different services. So you're more than welcome to explore this really awesome community. And yeah, connect with us. And if we have any new announcements, any new programs, we're definitely going to share that with you. So with that, this is the official close of the Build-a-Thon, but the extension, the extension that we have, really looking forward to seeing all of you submit your projects by end of week. We'll have a spotlight award for whoever has the most upvotes. I think there's someone who's really doing a good job on his submission, is really getting the entire community to vote for his project. So ensure that you definitely share your project with folks, ask them to vote for your project, and then we'll be sharing more communication towards the end of the week. But ensure you fill out the survey form for us to get the details we need to get to the badge. All right, so with that, thank you all so much for joining. For any questions, any concerns, please, you know where to find us. We are on Discord. You can also reach out to us on LinkedIn. Thank you all so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.